Here I'm going to give you the overview of the complete process for your own content engine. There's a couple of different tools we use here, including a number of AI tools. We use make.com to actually put the whole process together and make it automated. Then we use Perplexity to help with content generation, ChatGPT, which also helps formatting of article content. We use Google Drive for storing images and assets, and also Trello, which acts as a platform where you can moderate all the content, edit it, and schedule it to be published. So let's jump into it. If you look at the way it's all set up, let's start with Trello, because that's kind of what you would need to be setting up first. Now, if you create a new Trello board, create 3 different lists for content, scheduled, and posted. This will allow you to have a bit of a workflow through the whole process, and content will basically go into the first column. Then you can edit it, customize it, create a due date on it. It will then go into the posted column, and another automation will run on it to post it to your favorite social network. Now, to get all of the details for this whole automation, go over to the school group. You can click on this first course, and within here you can download the SOPs. So I've got 2 parts. One is content creation, and the second is content posting, which will give you a rundown of everything involved in the whole process. You can either do this yourself, or you can outsource it to a team member or a freelancer. Then you can download the make.com automations and import them into Make yourself, and the whole process will be there ready to go. So let's start with the SOP for creating content. Here's a little diagram which shows you a bit of an overview and flowchart of the process. I like it because when separating this process into 2 sections, one to create content and then another to post it, it gives you that middle ground where you can have an editing moderation step to the process. So here you can go through everything. Give this to your marketing manager, give it to your content creation person, or you can do it yourself. This explains everything on how to create the Trello board, set up automations. So use a combination of automations in Trello and then Make as well. So there's 2 automations for Trello. One which will add a move option onto the card. So when it is actually due to be published, it's going to move it into another column, which will then trigger a make.com process. And the other is when the due date is marked as complete, it's going to add a label to the card. So it's just a visual feedback to you, so you know that that piece of content is already scheduled and online. So let's jump into the first automation, which is the create content automation. You can see here the first part of the process is a tool called the keyword variable tool. So this will allow you to set whatever value you like. So if you're looking to create content on a particular topic, you just put it in here, and that really will set the rest of the process. I've also added notes into every stage, or the most important stages on this process. So if you're wondering why this particular part is an element of the process, you can just click over to notes, and I've got benefits of it here as well. The first item allows you to put in your keyword phrase, and that's then going to go to Perplexity. Perplexity AI is great because it can grab the latest articles on a particular topic. So that's helpful if you're looking for the latest content pieces out there on a topic, and it means you don't have to customize a prompt very much at all. You can just run with the same prompt, usually over and over, and it's going to grab the latest pieces of content. I use Perplexity and ChatGPT in combination, which does create a better output. So after Perplexity, we run a repeater. So Perplexity will grab the latest 10 article titles for you. So if we click into choices, you can see here that this has retrieved 10 different article topics, and it's called an article number, and it gives a little bit of information on it. The next part of the process makes it a little bit easier to walk through 10 iterations of everything. This is easier than creating a JSON file or trying to code and format that original result from Perplexity. So it basically just runs it 10 times. This next option is for ChatGPT, and you can see I've got a variable in here which grabs the iterator number from that previous repeater. So a bit clever, it's just going to go and grab that particular section of the content and it's going to run through that 10 times. Here is the text to send to ChatGPT, which is going to create an article content piece for you. That then goes through to another ChatGPT function, which will extract the title, which we use then later for Google Drive and Trello. Next, we generate an image through DALL-E, which is part of ChatGPT if you've got the paid version. So that's quite helpful. And then we store it in Google Drive. I had to add this option in because when you're trying to download images from a Trello card, you do need authorization, and it just makes the process a bit more complicated. So I've done this before where I save images and content assets to Google Drive, and it just makes it a little bit easier in the future. You've got a physical place where all of your assets are stored. And if you want to add more assets later, it makes it very easy. We use this little HTTP module here, which gets the file. You need that for this next part, which is storing the image in Google Drive. Then we move over to Trello. And basically you can customize these. So you'll want to select the board on Trello that you're using. You'll select the list, and the rest of the options are pretty straightforward. Next, it will create a checklist, and it will call it post image. And I'll use this because it makes it easier to just store the URL of the post image that you want to use. And you can change that later at any point. If you add various different images to the card, you can just chop and change that particular checklist item, and then the next make process is going to use that checklist item to then post that URL to the social platform. And the last step just adds in that content link, as we discussed. So that's the first part of the process, create content. And if we jump over to Trello, you can see the type of content that it is creating. So it adds it all into this first list here. And the images look great. The content is quite good. So if I click on one of these content pieces, now I can go through, I can have a look at all of this content. If I don't like something or I think it needs to be reworded, I can do that in here. If everything is great, all I do is add a due date, and I might set this for a few days time. Click save. And then I've added an automation in here, which will then move it to the scheduled list. This is just something internally that I found as a good way to add a workflow element to the process. So I click move to scheduled list. Now, if I click out of here, you can see that piece of content has already been dealt with, which means for your workflow, you can go through this whole list, schedule, edit, moderate, move it over into the scheduled list, and it'll be ready to go. Now, there's a couple of automations here which I will run through as well. So if I click automation and then rules, you can see there's a couple of different rules here. And the one we're looking for is when the due date is marked as complete in a card, add the green posted label to the card. So this basically just gives a feedback element to Trello. So if I'm looking in the posted column, I can see the cards which do have that green posted label, they've already been actually posted onto the social platform. So it just means I can scroll through and see which ones have been posted and which ones might not have been yet. The next automation is under due date. So this is part of the process that will basically get Trello to move cards into the posted list, which then executes the second part of the make process. So it's the moment a card is due, move the card to the top of the list, posted. Very simple. The other thing I like to add in is this power up for calendar. So for then I click the calendar, it's very easy to see where my content is and which days it's scheduled on. So I love that. That's a good little option there. And that's basically it. So that's all you need to do in the Trello board. And it's very nice. It's very visual. It's got all the functionality you need to be able to add in other members, to share different things with different people, to add comments on each card. So I really like this. And there's a free version of it as well. Next, if we jump over to the next make process, which is post, and there is a SOP document here for this part as well. So you can give this to your marketing manager or content creation specialist. So to run through this first part is quite important, and this is integrating with Trello. So it will watch cards move to a list. And we've specified here the posted column. I'll add the notes here as well. Next process, we'll get that checklist, and it will then grab the file URL on that checklist. Then I've specified create an organization image post. So this will post to a company page on LinkedIn. You can modify this to post to your personal profile if you like. And I've just put one specific option in here just to keep this process really simple for you to get started. So we're just focusing on one particular social network. And it will add in the image and the description from the card. And then we go back into the card, and this will specify that due date as complete, which will then trigger that other Trello automation. And then I've added just another step here to add a comment to that card, which will specify the URL of that posted content. So that is the whole process. And it's not incredibly difficult, but it is quite powerful. And it's really cool to see if you go into the first make scenario, and you can click run once, then you go back into Trello, and you'll be able to see new cards being added to the board in real time. And it's quite nice. So then you have the whole process where you can go through, edit everything, move it to the posted column or move it to the scheduled column, and everything will be ready to go. You can also set up a automation on the post content make scenario, which will run once per day, twice per day, however often you want. And what it will do is basically grab an item from this posted column, which is scheduled to be posted, and it will automatically run on it. So that's quite handy if you automatically want to just post one piece of content per day. That'll just run, and the whole process is set up automated. So that's basically an overview of the whole process. You can jump over here into School. You can grab all of the downloads, all the SOPs, and you should be good to go. Anything else you need, add a comment or DM me in the community, and I'll be happy to help.